What if justice wasn't just about systems, but about the soul? Welcome to the Spiritual Justice Show with me, Eric S. Lee. You've heard me say it before. For too long, we thought restorative justice alone could save us. But repairing harm without changing systems doesn't end the cycle. Social justice fights for equity, but without spirit, the work becomes a grind. Transformative justice seeks culture change, but without compassion, it struggles to hold. Spiritual justice completes the circle. It heals the heart while changing the system. It restores dignity while shifting culture. It brings spirit back into justice. Each week, I'll bring together leaders, healers, and change makers to explore a new vision of justice: restorative, transformative, and deeply spiritual. And people like you, spiritual justice warriors who choose courage, compassion, and creativity in action.
Hey everybody, I'm Dr. Pat, and I get to take this beautiful, beautiful journey with the most incredible Eric S. Lee. And this is such a timely episode, Eric. I mean, this is from enlightenment to impact. I want to talk a little bit about this before we jump in, because the bottom line with things, for those of you that are listening and you're watching and you're out there, and maybe you've had a tough start, maybe you're not quite sure, am I going to make the impact? I mean, everybody talked about a new, well, not everybody, but some people talked about a new energy, a new start. And it is something that vibrationally you can focus in on the inside. However, it doesn't mean that we ignore the things going on in the outside world. And that's what, Eric, that's what you're doing. So today we're talking about from enlightenment to impact. It's living purpose through action. So I'm going to start something out with, I come from a very interesting spiritually eclectic background. I come from Catholicism, but then I had a brilliant mom, my stepmom, who was taught us a new way to understand the laws of Jesus. If she were alive today, she would be your modern day Joel Osteen. That's who she would be, except she's way more open-minded. My mom believed everybody should be on earth. She used to say to us girls, let me tell you something. One of the major mistakes of mankind was thinking they could judge people. That's what she said. And the reason I'm mentioning her is because she always told us, don't let anything get in your way. Don't let other people's opinions, don't let your past. And Eric, this is a 1 year. We have 9 years to float through here before the cycle changes in numerology. Big year of the fire horse, Yahoo. Come on, we have to light it up. But many of us struggled a little bit. I think we struggled a little bit with the ending of last year. Now let's talk about this, because it's okay to struggle. It's okay to have challenges, but it's not okay to be them, right? So tell us about what this episode, what this enlightenment to impact and action means to Eric S. Lee today.
Dr. Pat, thank you. You always set the table so beautifully. You must have been a gourmet upscale 5-star restaurateur the way that table is set. I mean, crystal and silver and china. Oh my God, it's glistening. So thank you for that. I also want to say Happy New Year to you and Happy New Year to everyone. Here we get to start anew, sort of. You know, let me jump into this. I don't want to get too much into the new year, but I know New Year signals a new beginning, a fresh start, um, a chance to reassess, set goals, make resolutions, and do all those things. And, the last couple shows now, I have like been, well, the last few shows, I've been throwing concepts out, and there's been an overarching theme. And overarching theme is, those of us who have been moving towards spiritual enlightenment, spiritual oneness, spiritual connection, and all those things. And sometimes we feel like we're right there, but there's something missing. And I've been maintaining, my hypothesis has been that maybe that last piece for many of us, because you know I don't believe in universal axioms and that everything applies to everyone. I think that's where religions get in trouble. It's just like saying, okay, this is the way, right?
Mhm.
But this could be the way, and I know it's the way for many because I have experienced it myself, and I've experienced it out in the world in so many different ways with so many different peoples that I've interacted with and seen and witnessed and collaborated with. And the concept that we talked about before, and it's come up a couple times, is divine discontent. And again, I took credit for that term because I put it in my book 29 Degrees because it came to me as I was writing it. Maybe somebody else has it somewhere. I'm not gonna, copyright it, or should I, Dr. Pat? We'll talk
Yeah,
about that later.
of course you should
I'm not
trademark
gonna
it.
claim it, but it did come to me, and it came to me in a divine moment, following my life path. And what it means is, there's a moment that on our path, we feel like where we're at is not it. There's something missing. There's something more. There's something right now that is not in alignment with our higher selves and the greatest vision that we have for ourselves.
Hmm.
And I'm doing this. It just pokes at us, and that divine discontent just keeps poking at us until we acknowledge it and we start movement into that higher vision for ourselves. And here we say that higher vision in many cases is community connection. It is sharing that inner peace, that inner development, that inner voice that we have cultivated over the weeks, months, and years that we've been doing it, and sharing it with others, particularly young people. Now,
Yeah,
let me say something right quick.
yeah.
What I said that, and I said the word discontent really starts to paint a picture and sometimes gives negative connotations to people. And I don't mean that at all. And you could take divine discontent in meaning that there has been a failure or something that we've done wrong. And that's not it at all. It is simply a message that we are ready for something more. We are ready for something bigger. All of the work that we've done, we're ready to graduate to
Hmm.
the next level.
Yeah. No question about it. It's interesting. I told you before the show, I literally packed up in the past 4 weeks. I made a decision. It was a smart one for a lot of reasons. And I had been in the greater Seattle area for over 30 years, right? And I made a decision to come back east. Didn't bring all my belongings with me because we're not sure where we want to land. But for the time, this is important. I got New York contacts, people that I'm working with in different ways. But one of the things that you said in this, communities are great, and yet people don't understand the vast array of communities available to them, right? And what do I mean by that? I went through my little pity party, had a little pity party about, my God, I'm losing my friend. I just went through that. And what you realize is that is a discontent that that literally brings me to the point of my spiritual disconnection. See, discontent equals disconnection, your spiritual disconnection. Because, see, if you would just do a justice show, that'd be one thing, but you're not. The spiritual justice show is a way to show the bridge. Spiritual justice in itself is a way to take discontent, to way to take whatever's going on in one life and change it around. It's something interesting about this episode title too. And let's talk about this. We have to reconnect with that divine discontent to get to divine right action. And everyone you read about, Eric, I haven't studied every little thing in the book, but I will tell you the people that I read about, whether they're in biblical terms or the Bhagavad Gita, or it doesn't matter, right? What I've picked up and read. Viktor Frankl, we talk about a lot, or this big book. See this book here? I don't know if I'm holding it up good, Emily. Emily,
Yeah.
am I got that up
I
good?
can't read, I can't see the words,
Yeah.
but
It
I see
says
the book.
Alcoholics Anonymous.
Oh yeah.
This is the little big book. My other big
Mm,
book didn't make the trip.
mm.
And so when I start this out with people, everybody starts on the first step. And I go to chapter 6. Do you want to know why? Do you know what chapter 6 is called? Into action. That's what it's called. And yes, you have to go through the rest because you have to turn your life over to a higher power because you're screwing it up yourself. But do you know why I love this one? You get to the end of it. You get to the end of it. And this is where you lose a lot of people because they're like, I hate God. God put me in this, but I'm telling you, right? I know this because I've been there. And you go through this. As we go through the day, we pause when agitated or doubtful, and we ask for the right thought or action. Can you understand what I'm trying to say here?
Yes,
But you wouldn't do
absolutely.
that if you didn't have agitation or doubtfulness. If you didn't have divine discontent, you wouldn't have an indicator, Eric, that we can do more. And it goes on to say something really interesting. It says, we constantly remind ourselves we are no longer running the show. To your point,
Mm.
see, any kind of discontent means we tried to run the show and we are not equipped to run some of the shows we got going on in our heads and in our lives. We're just not. And humbly say to ourselves many times a day, thine will be done. Now, that's a scriptural little thing, but you don't have to make it a scripture thing. So those of you out there, find whatever it is that you've learned. We talked about Frankel. He said it differently. Hawkins said it differently. Power versus force. Everybody said, but thine will be done. So what are we saying here today? We're saying that restless, incomplete feeling, we make that who we are. So instead of feeling something, we make ourselves the something. Help us understand and clarify divine discontent beyond us thinking it's a personal failure. But couldn't it also be a bridge? Couldn't it also be a bridge? Because here's the thing, to your point and the episode you put together today, we are then less angry, excited, fear, angry, worry, self-pity, foolish decisions. We become more efficient. We do not tire so easily if we are not burning up energy foolishly. Hello. As we did when we were trying to arrange life to suit ourselves. Isn't that what we're talking about here? Isn't divine discontention or discontent when we just start to move all the pieces and it just like, oh. And it goes on to say real simply. So we let God, universe, goddess, whatever you believe in, discipline us in the simple way we have just outlined. But this is not all. And this is the episode title. There is an action and more action because faith without works is dead. DEAD. Now I got to tell you how my brain worked, and then you need to walk us through this. For 25 years in sobriety, I thought that phrase said, faith without works is death. And you know how I realized that wasn't the right phrase? There's an episode of The Walking Dead. I'm not kidding. This is true, Eric. There's an episode of The Walking Dead. We're in the church, and I don't know what the zombies are doing, but they're in the church, and the preacher is like doing the preacher thing because he is conflicted. He is in divine discontent. He is like, I'm not killing a zombie. Okay. He is really struggling. And up Biggins Day in this church, faith without works is dead. And I said, that's wrong. The Walking Dead people got that wrong. It's supposed to be death. It doesn't matter what it is. What we're talking about here today is this is a 1 year. If you're not going to take what you are given internally from the divine, from your spiritual background, from what you want to do to reconcile your justice issue, you will die inside.
You brought up a lot. So let me
I'm
start
done
talking
for the
about some.
show now. That's it for me.
No, you're not done. You're gonna
I'm pretty, I'm
you're gonna
pretty
tee it
much
up some
done.
more later on.
Yeah.
But one of the things, I mean, because my mind starts going places. You know, I got this guy. You know, you're teaching me how to be a good TV person, and I've got structure. I've got structure for this show,
Oh, and
and I
believe
want
me,
to
I'm
follow it.
following the
And
outline. I am following the outline,
and
believe it or not.
you brought up things that need to be talked about.
Okay.
So, and one of the things you brought up, and this is going to help people, and it's back to one of the things that I was going into when I was talking about divine discontent, and I was alluding to the point of it not being a failure. It is a sign that you're ready for something more. And so I want to go deeper into and taking away some of that judgment. It's like, you know, you're talking about recovery and alcoholism, which I've done with drugs. And one of the things, and one of the comforting things that I heard as I was going early into the process and trying to be clean, and am I going to be able to do this? And how am I going to quit doing drugs? And somebody stopped me in a meeting and said, Eric, take out the big picture. Take the big picture away. You don't have to quit doing drugs. You have to quit doing drugs right now. And as you talked about that, it brought up this whole thing, and I want people to understand about their journey, and this applies to the spiritual journey as well. And that is a journey of 1,000 miles begins with another step, and then another step, and it begins with a single step, and then another step, and then another step. And then the other thing that I heard just recently, just a couple days ago, because I'm always reading something on audiobook, and this gentleman was talking about the nature of our ability to create and who we really are and all of these wonderful things. And he said one of the things that spiritual people do that throws them off, and it's a mistake for them sometimes and gets them into trouble, is that they don't remember this. Keep your mind in the moon and stars, but keep your eyes on your feet.
Mm.
And so it really helps us and helps me frame the vision of what I'm trying to create in this world and the purpose and meaning that drives my heart and my passions. And that is the reality of my being. And at the same time, there's a stoplight right there I got to pay attention to. You know what I mean? It's
I
just like it's
do.
just the practical aspects of life that we can't lose sight of.
Mhm.
And so I want the viewers to be really gentle with themselves around this divine discontent and take the steps and know that their journey, maybe they're on step 500 of 1,000, and they're getting this discontent is impatient that they're not there yet. No, please know that you are exactly where you need to be. And all you need to do right now is focus on the next step. And we want to give you some practical next steps, like, search within. And with that, if you're feeling that, try to identify it. Try to get specific with yourself. Ask yourself, what feels unfinished to me now? And what inner longing that I'm having cannot be satisfied by just some comfort or distraction or thing, right? What would really give me satisfaction and peace in my life? And that starts to point us into usually the people that I talk to, including myself in my experience, it usually leads to some kind of service or connection
Mm,
with something that's bigger than us. I mean, we talked
mhm,
about purpose and meaning. We spent a whole episode on
mm,
Viktor Frankl and all of that.
mhm,
And that sometimes is the key.
mm. I want to talk about this. Let's keep going with how to connect to the divine. And I want you to really address something here. Two really important points that, we're going to talk about today. Where in your life does something feel unfinished? I really have to bring that up because I've been like all over this crazy thing about 2025 is a 9 year. It's the end of a cycle. 2026 a 1 year. Not only that, in Chinese practice, I hang around a lot of Asian people. Just saying, look at my background, and
Mhm.
it's a year of the fire horse. However, I felt this urge, man, to like get stuff done. And when January 1st came along, I had to get some spiritual help on this. I'm just going to tell you right now because I grew up a little Catholic, so I get a little guilt and shame going on in there sometimes. And 2025 ended, but I made it to New Jersey in the timeline I wanted to make. What a blessing this was for me. People are like, why are you going to New? I'm like, you don't even understand what part of New Jersey I'm going to. I'm moving to a beautiful place in the state, and it's not what everybody thinks. Come on now. It's not that. It's like talking to somebody about Kansas. Don't you email me, you Kansas people, okay? Actually, sorry for the football team. Um, but Kansas grows the most delicious. Without what they grow in Kansas, we wouldn't have food on the table. I walked in, got off the plane. We had a major spiritual experience on the plane. And I walked in and I said to Linda, you have a beautiful home. Now, Linda has not been back here. This house was just run by her family and she came back and it was beautiful. And just because it was beautiful to me, it didn't mean it was going to be a beautiful, beautiful reentry for Linda. Unfinished business. See, while I was finishing up my business, and I'm all like, beautiful place, yeah. Not everybody is there. So let's talk about what do you do if you're not like yippee skippy like I'm feeling about 2026? And what if that inner longing cannot be answered by the things you're used to?
I'd say, it's time, for guided self-reflection. You know, we're talking about taking actions that are outside of ourselves, but to be truly meaningful and impactful and uplifting to ourselves, the answers are usually within ourselves. And so there's three questions that I want everybody to sit down in a quiet place and ask themselves if they have this feeling, if they have this poking that's saying, hey, there's something more for you. And maybe it is in being more active in purpose field in my activities and in my routines in my life. And that is, what activities energize you? Ask yourself the question, what activities energize me? A lot of times we want to go into what's the right thing to do? What's the most, you've seen my email, right? And on the bottom, I have a quote. And that quote is from Howard Thurman. And it's, don't ask yourself what the world needs. Ask yourself what makes you come alive. Because what the world needs is more people to come alive.
Mm,
And so that's the question. That's the biggest thing. That's going to be the biggest clue to what you should be offering of yourself.
yeah.
And then the next question is, What skills just in your circle, what do people ask you for? What skills are they asking you to help them with? Right? That's going to give you a big clue onto how you can contribute and how you can be more in touch with your spiritual nature. Because you talked about faith without works is dead. And so, as a spiritual being myself, one of the things that I've learned and recognized and cultivate and build is that I was sent with some special gifts. And those special gifts generally are things that I share with other people. I don't sit in a room and just, meditation and all that stuff. Yeah, that's great. And that's the foundation of how we offer, right? That's the oxygen we take in so we can share and be whole and fit and healthy and all that stuff. But those special abilities, whether it's writing, whether it's sewing, whether it's cleaning, whether it's, comforting people, whether it's babysitting, whether it's outdoor, activities or whatever your thing is, that is what we were meant to share. Remember the phrase that I said earlier on an earlier show. I am a gateway through which the divine enters life, right? And that divine is trying to enter life in part through those special gifts and talents and abilities that you have. So that is really, back to my quote, what helps people come alive. When you can freely express those things that are gloriously trying to come out of you. And then finally, the last question is, what am I drawn to? Trust your intuition. What's been calling to me? What organization or activity or building or thing have I said, wow, that would be cool. That might be a nice thing for me. Trust that and go deeper. And then once you've done that self inventory, go out and do a search, right? Try to find the local organizations, nonprofits, schools, just restorative justice programs, boys and girls clubs, whatever, and see if there is a need for those specific gifts that you have to share.
Mhm.
And just do an inquiry, send an email, set up a meeting, do coffee, whatever. I run a nonprofit, and people, I've had volunteers email me and like, I want to volunteer. And it's like, a lot of times they don't think to, say, let's go have coffee or can we meet just so we can just make sure there's an alignment. Because and then when they don't do that as volunteers, I always do it as the leader of the
Mhm.
organization. So we can really, really have a human spiritual connection and really find out what is the alignment here. And more often than not, as we really talk as humans, as people trying to uplift souls and make the world a better place, we can dial in exactly what role works for you in this organization, or sometimes it doesn't. But me having connections, I can say, hey, maybe you need to call so and so because they're looking for that exact thing that you have. So just take the first step. And serendipity tells us when we're on that path, we may be thinking we're looking for one thing, and we end up finding the glory in something else.
Mm. Oh, and we are going to talk about that when we come back from break, because this is a show. I want to put this in context when we come back and talk about the work you do, because I was struck. I reached out to my friend Monica to get her connected with you. I can't wait to talk with Monica. And I thought about this, and I thought about how one feels. I mean, this was hard. Oh my God, I'm going to cry. I think I'm going to go to break first, and then we're going to talk story.
And then we can
Be
cry together.
we're going to cry together because somebody said to me, I guess they didn't understand the New Jersey thing. So now I just say I moved to New York. If you say you moved to New York, but then that's lying, okay? They're like, but when we come back, I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding. When we come back, what we're going to talk about is the world you live in every day. Why? I was part of that world. When you get arrested for something, I'm 19. I made a mistake. And by the grace of God, I was saved by a judge who thought my situation was the most ridiculous situation that he had ever heard in Plainfield, New Jersey, that I was either crazy or lying or telling the truth. But how do you restore yourself after that? How do you help yourself? What can you do to rise up? So for 2026, this is the year to rise up. When we come back, we're going to engage with you. And Eric's going to talk about the people he works with, these amazing young people who the world has given up on. Not Eric S. Lee, not his organization, and not spiritual justice. That is why we're passionate, not just about this show, but we have got to turn this around and give a future to those of us that once upon a time made a slight miscalculation that got us in trouble. Let's take a short break. We'll be right back. Hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Pat. I'm the host of the Dr. Pat Show, and I am the creator of the Transformation Network, doing what we do in the world of positive radio, informed, educated, positive media. Independent radio hosts and independent networks have been the face of positive messaging over the past decade. So all of us here have decided we're going to put together an independent network that is going to enable people to bring their positive message of hope, inspiration, and conscious action to the forefront. Help us create a future of amazing, uplifting stories that can be told so we can tell our children and they can tell their children of what hope and conscious action is all about. I want to thank you all for tuning us in, turning us on transformationtalkradio.com.
Looking for more love, joy, and purpose in your life? Lisa Eve is here to guide you. Through intuitive support, healing, and soulful travel, she empowers you to embrace self-love as the key to happiness. Explore her book, The Love Channel, Finding Your Way to Happiness, available on Amazon. And find daily inspiration at thehappychannel.com. Start living your most radiant, joy-filled life today.
Tune in to the Flourish Frequency Show with me, Beth Larson, every third Thursday at 11 a.m. Pacific Time on Transformation Talk Radio. Get ready to activate and amplify the frequencies of success, happiness, and abundance so you can live a life of more joy, more energy, more passion, more money, and more meaning. For more information, visit BethLarsonCoaching.com.
Welcome back, everyone. What an amazing show to kick this year off. Eric S. Lee, the founder of many things, the creator of many things, but a man who leads with the heart, accelerates with the mind, and captures the essence of life with his spiritual infusion in every conversation and everything he does. Eric, I know you're going to share something, but before you do, people want to know, how did they find out about you, your organization, what you're doing?
Everybody can go to fullcirclerj.org, or if you want to, meet with me, do a Zoom conference or whatever, it's eric.lee@fullcirclerj.org. So just remember, fullcirclerj for restorative justice.org. Come and get me.
Yeah, I got you. I am not letting go either. Look, we get here by sharing our personal experiences. It was very difficult for me. I showed the big book, but I got to tell you, I got 30, going on 36 years of sobriety, and I got to tell you, the first 15 years, it was tough for me to share anything. I was ashamed. I was embarrassed. No more. But our experiences help others see who we are today is not who we thought we were going to be when we got into a little mess. How about you? Ever been in a mess?
I've been in a mess, and I'm not going to go too much into my mess because I did that in a previous show. So go back and watch show number one, everybody, and then pause, then come back and jump in right here. Because what I want to talk about is one of the concepts that we've been talking about on this show. Because I really want to people to see what's possible when they honor the divine discontent and start taking the first of those 1,000-mile steps, right? And so this was, I'm going to say, the year was 2021. I was working as a health and wellness coach. I did, stress relief coaching. I did coaching with executives and individuals. I did personal training, fitness and health. I did high performance sports training. I did all those things. And a lot of the work I did was in Longmont, Colorado, at the Longmont Rec Center. And I remember that year I was talking to a woman, and this was my divine discontent. And I knew that word because I had published my first book by then. And it was in there. And I said to her, I said, look, I don't know what it is, but I only see myself here another couple years. And sure enough, later that year, I got the offer to take the job that I got now. And so also with that, we were coming off of the 2020 when the world was blowing up. Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, and George Floyd were ripping the fabric of our society. And divine discontent was poking at me about that. And it was, we got all this stuff. People are protesting, people are burning stuff down, and justifiably so, people are mad, right? I don't want to debate what's the appropriate reaction to when unjust things happen or any of that. But I just know that there's a discontent. Mine was divine around things when they happen like that. And instead of the protest, I was saying to people, and I did a Facebook post about this. I said, what we need to be doing is we need to be having outreach and holding our city officials and our law enforcement accountable, and not just raging on them, but truly connecting with them and collaborating with them as a community, so that there's more transparency and we have greater voice. And so that discontent led me to write letters to every council member, the mayor, the police chief, and everybody in Longmont. And I was saying, we need to be doing this. We need more connection between the community and the police force so that this doesn't happen here. And it's like, oh, as a matter of fact, we have a citizens review panel where we bring citizens and police officers together, and we handle, it was basically internal affairs that they were transparent enough to have the community involved with every complaint case against law enforcement in Longmont. And their response was, and as a matter of fact, we're getting ready to take applications for our next 5-year term. We encourage you to apply. I applied, I got accepted. So then I started working actively with the police department in Longmont, giving community transparency on everything that was going on in the police department. And one of the few minorities in that community, my voice was listened to very carefully. They were really good about honoring voices that weren't like everybody else's because we had a unique perspective. And that began to change me because I was trained in all that stuff. I don't want to go too deep into detail. Let's fast forward. Then I get a call from my daughter, and I've told this story before too, that says, Dad, she was working for a restorative justice organization in Denver. We need restorative justice facilitators. You have this coaching background, and you're just spiritually, and you're great with kids, and you're great for helping people find their higher selves. I think you'd be a great facilitator. Would you be interested? I'm like, sure, fine, whatever. So I trained. I became a facilitator for restorative justice for this organization in Denver. I did that for a couple years, along with working with law enforcement. So you see what's building here. This was all because of the divine discontent. I felt that something more was out there for me. Then one day, my daughter's like, Dad, there's a job in Salida which is down the street from where my sister-in-law lives in Buena Vista, which is 3 hours from where I lived. We vacationed there. It's a beautiful mountain town, all that. There's a job for an executive director in a restorative justice organization. Okay, long story short, one step led to another step, led to another step. All I was trying to do was help our community be better. And what it grew to serendipitously was me running an organization that is doing now systemic change on how youth are oriented in an entire judicial district in the state of Colorado, spanning over 4 counties. And so that's just I just want to share that personal story about those people who have reservations or doubts about what difference can I make, or what's one little step going to do, or if I just do this 10 minutes or an hour a week, what difference is that? You don't know what glorious thing is in store for you once you begin taking the steps. But you got to take that one first step and keep taking them.
Yeah. Sometimes I love what you shared. You see, I'm going to say something a little strange, but I think you know what I mean. When I get that divine discontent, I know something big. Now, the more divine discontented I am, like if I'm a 10, discontent, divine discontent number 10, you know what I'm saying? Like not like little 1 or 2, like 10. What I've learned is what you shared. The reward on the other side of that, if I follow what you talked about today, and I walk my talk. I made an appointment yesterday with a spiritual mentor because this is important to do. But see, you do more than that, Eric. Not only do you teach it, but you guide these people, these youth. You guide them. The ones that are like, I can't do it, Eric. I cannot take that step. I cannot do it. See, how many times in our lives have we just felt we couldn't do it? And we've either had somebody there that was our guidepost. I used to say guidepost, it's a guidepost. But how many times? Somebody asked me the other day, did I learn anything from my mom's suicide? He asked me that in an interview. It caught me like, I was like, where'd that come from? I didn't say that out loud. And then my mom told me the answer. And what she said to me was, after I started stop being agitated about the question, what she said to me was, you wouldn't be able to help anybody do anything about any real life problems, Patricia, if you didn't have to go what you went through with me. And then she said, but I left you a gift. And I forgot the gift. See, remember your question used the 3 questions? Let me tell you what my mom left me. My mom was her heart was so enormous. Her love for me, her love. And she was so porous. She was an empath. I'm not kidding. Life was too hard to be around my dad, who was not a good man. But the gift she left me is in my heart. As discontent as I get, I'm reminded of that love. So I answered the question to the individual. And I said, I learned to love. And I got to tell you, he didn't know what to do with that. And he just went on to some other stupid, ridiculous next question.
Mm.
See, what you're talking about, divine discontent can lead to a degree of love that we have never experienced before. Don't you think?
I do, and that's perfect segue into that is at the foundation of the work we do. We call it restorative justice, but what we're doing is showing the youth that we work with, which is all of them, that they are loved.
Mm-hmm.
And because so many of them, and you just kind of showed a glimpse of what life could have been like for you as a young person with whatever trauma may have been there. Most of the kids we help and we serve have some kind of trauma that they're trying to overcome, and they're acting out because of that. And we're just pointing them. And what we're asking those people who want to be involved with is that connection you've established. Our work at Full Circle Restorative Justice, underneath it all, is just showing how connected these youth are to a power that is greater than them and a purpose that is aligned for them, and things that if they look closely enough, instead of all this other stuff that is driving them crazy, will ultimately show them their true meaning, their true purpose, and the true identity of beauty and glory that is within every child. And we just want to open the door. We don't want to be pontificating or orienting them against on religion or spirituality or all of that stuff. We don't want to label it. We don't want to put that on them. We just, at the bottom of it, want them to understand the great value that they came to the planet with, that somehow got socialized away in their environment. And so many of us have done the work of doing that for ourselves, and we're close. And again, I've said this before, and we've talked about this ad nauseum. There's that bug, there's that emptiness, there's that incompleteness, there's that, what's that word? Divine discontent that is there, that is telling them, okay, let's be of service here. Let's show somebody else the true glory of who they are as well.
Mm-hmm.
And that's again at the bottom line and the essence of the work we do at Full Circle Restorative Justice. And we do it through the judicial system, through preventative work in the schools, building connection and climate in the schools, so that those kids do get to be shown that, and they get to help us create an environment that honors everybody in that iron environment, instead of having everybody at odds with each other all the time.
Eric, I can't wait for the next show. And the reason I say that is that we are not talking from the heart enough. And I'm going to talk about myself. Mid-year, not enough time in the show to go through it. Maybe we'll do a show on when discontent is simply discontent without divine anything. And we think it's just, this is what's going on here is a you know what show going on. Last year, there's a story about a man in a boat, and he's praying to get rescued, or a man's praying to get rescued. He's in the water, he's drowning. His story, and I'm not going to tell the whole story. And
I know
first
this
thing,
story. I love this story.
Robo comes by. He said, "No, I'm waiting for God to send me help." Okay, Robo. Second, something else comes by, lifesaver or something. He said, "No, I can't take the lifesaver. I'm waiting for God to send me, rescue me." And then third one, okay, same thing. Finally, the guy he drowns. And he gets up there to wherever he's up there and says, "What happened to you, God? I was waiting for you." And God says, "I sent you a boat. I sent you a lifesaver. And then I sent you a helicopter.
I
What were
love that
you
story.
waiting for?" Last year, I got the boat, the helicopter, I got the lifesaver, and I didn't see it. And I had to go through the darkest night of the soul that I went through. But I got through it. And because of it, and this is what we'll talk about in future shows, because of the tools, because of it, on the other side of the rainbow is the real pathway for purpose. See, people don't think divine discontent is going to get you to the pathway to purpose. But we would not be talking about Wicked or the Wizard of Oz if that child didn't walk down that yellow brick road and got drugged and everything. We wouldn't be talking about her. She'd just be some cute little Kansas girl with like some slippers, and we'd be thinking, why is anybody watching this movie? Know why we like that movie? Divine discontent every step of the way. Eric, what's your personal message? What would you like to leave us with? And thank you again. Thank you for being who you are.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Pat. Thank you for the platform. This is the highlight of my month. Every month now, it's just this, it's a new life to be able to try and reach more folks and activate more folks and support more folks into uplifting the souls of our society. So yeah. My last send off is, listen, be gentle with yourself. If you're feeling something that's not quite there, you're feeling like you're not quite there, be gentle with yourself, but honor that feeling and go within and rewatch the show and get those 3 questions so you can practice and get really clear on what your next step is in becoming all that you were meant to be.
Yeah. I want to just do a shout out to all you moms and dads and adults out there that are around young people. So when Eric's talking about this, he didn't say one thing, and that is the work that they do is not just with the youth, it's with the youth and the parents. Make
Yep.
this a family affair. Watch what will show up. Keep your mind open when your child says to you, I want to be a host like Eric S. Lee. Thank you, Eric. Okay, are we
Thank
going to
you,
do
Dr. Pat.
Go Seahawks, right?
Go Seahawks. Yes. Sam
Yes.
Darnold.
Yeah, there we go. Thank you so much for everything, Eric. More to come. Can't wait to see how spiritual justice is going to really work itself, blow itself out. For those of you out there, this is a 1 year. Make it your number 1 year. We'll see you next time.
Thank you for joining me, Eric S. Lee, on the Spiritual Justice Show. You've heard me say it before. Restorative justice alone can't get us there. Repairing a wound matters, but if the system keeps cutting, the wounds return. Social justice fights for equity, but if we forget the human spirit, policy feels hollow. Transformative justice shifts culture, but without compassion, the changes just don't last. That's why spiritual justice completes the circle. It heals the heart while changing the system. It restores dignity while shifting culture. It brings spirit back into justice. And that's where you come in. Tune in each first and third Tuesday at 10 a.m. Pacific Time on the Transformation Network as we rise up, spiritual justice warriors. This means you choosing courage, compassion, and creativity in a call to action. Until next time, walk with courage, lead with compassion, live with spirit, because justice becomes here in the soul, and it continues with warriors like us. Join our community at spiritualjustice.net.